All right, welcome into the stream, Gaming with Derek. Another week, we're taking care of another preview. Quick turnaround for the Browns, Monday Night Football. Now we have a Sunday night primetime matchup versus the New York Giants. And joining me is sports reporter from WPIX, Justin Walters. Thanks for hopping in and doing this with me. I appreciate it, man.
Absolutely, man. Any chance to talk football on a Wednesday? Come on, man. Gotta love it.
I
Our
know.
profession is a dream job.
I know, and now I'm gonna hopefully make us look silly when we play. Are You Smarter Than a Fifth Grader as well between talking football as part of the gaming portion of the segment. But let's talk about the news of the day today. Obviously, both the Browns and the Giants talking. I don't know if you heard what Kevin Stefanski said on our end, but it looks like cornerback Denzel Ward might be back for this game. He was at least on the practice field today, so that's a good sign. Tight end Austin Hooper still kind of questionable for the game, but it looks like we're without safety Andrew Sendejo, which, if you ask anybody from Cleveland here, that's not a good thing, anyways, because he blows coverages all the time, if you ask all the fans. And then there's news on you guys' end about Daniel Jones suffering from potentially another leg injury and now is questionable for Sunday night's game. So let's start there. What did Joe Judge have to say today?
Yeah, it was unfortunate to hear and definitely a curveball. And I know a lot of people were, I guess, a bit reserved when we found out that Daniel Jones was going to be playing last week. People of the mindset, why throw him out there? Because mobility is one of the top things of his game. If he's not mobile and he can't move around in the quarter or move around in the pocket, he's not going to have that much success. We've seen that from the Giants offense all year long. I probably would have started Colt McCoy, hindsight being 2020. Probably Joe Judge would have started Colt McCoy as well after this injury with Jones. So it appears that Colt McCoy is going to go out there. I know you just threw out all of those injuries and people coming back on the defensive side for Cleveland. But when you look at the numbers, you guys should have no problems whatsoever. Look at the Giants offense. They're the second lowest scoring team in the league. That's been one of the things that has killed this team all year long. The bread and butter is their defense. The offense, without Saquon, and obviously tons of COVID-19 related issues. Daniel Jones not being able to probably play this week, you guys will be fine.
That's what fans would like to hear. But like I mentioned to you kind of off stream, is the defense not necessarily that great for the Cleveland Browns. 26 points per game is what the offense averages. 28 points per game is what the defense gives up. So that's what we're dealing with. But yeah, on paper, as we look at this game, as Cleveland Browns fans look at this game, these were the games where we were kind of quote unquote banking on taking on the Giants, taking on the Jets, even though they're both road games, because you still have the Steelers game looming for us on the back end to close out the season. Which, if the Giants, if the Browns can't pull off wins in these next two games, now you're talking, can they get into the playoffs? So this is something that Browns fans have been looking for forever, getting back into the postseason. So
This game was also already marked off before the season even began because it was supposed to be Odell making his
no
return
doubt.
against his former team. And obviously, everything has pretty much gone to chaos and turned the corner since then. But yeah, wow, what a year.
Yeah, and when you look at what Odell did last year when they took on the Jets, that was kind of, sticking it to the New York crowd, even though it wasn't necessarily the Giants. But yeah, that matchup would have been huge. And obviously, Joe Judge talked about that today about the trade. And obviously, as the head coach of the Giants, he's going to say he prefers to have Jabril Peppers. My New York accent came out right there. Would prefer to have Jabril Peppers and Kevin Zeitler. How's that move worked for you guys?
I think so far you can say that the Giants are the winners of that trade. And if anything, it's going to make a quarterback grow by nature. A lot of times when they have a star receiver, they want to force it into them. I think that was one of the criticisms from Odell. Are the Browns actually better without Odell? I personally believe that they're not, but a quarterback usually has a get out of jail free card when they have a top receiver.
Hmm.
The Giants made that gutsy trade because they understand that Odell is such a top dynamic talent, but the wins just didn't show for it. And that's the case with a lot of players. Another player in New York was dynamic, Jamal Adams. He went over to the Seahawks. So I think they leveraged that. And for the most part, I can't say that you can say that the Giants are winning this deal so far, but they've come out so far looking good. And it could be a split trade. But if Odell tends to regress next year, then I could say definitively that the Giants have won that trade. And Gettleman at first, a lot of people are throwing a lot of rocks at him. Now I think people are of the mindset he made a good decision with Joe Judge hiring him as the head coach. The jury definitely is still out on Daniel Jones, but for the most part, it's been a solid trade-off.
Yeah, I would say the jury is definitely still out on Daniel Jones, and obviously all that controversy last year with Jones and Eli, and what did they do, and back and forth, and blah blah blah, all that stuff. But just want to remind people on Facebook that you guys can comment and ask questions. We do have a couple of comments already. Brian Johnson says, "Go Browns." Michael Florinki says the Browns' magic number to the postseason is 11 wins, which is kind of what we talked about. They're sitting at 9, taking on the Giants, taking on the Jets. If they can get to that 11 win mark, they should get into the postseason. But the AFC has been so tough. Let's switch
The
real quick.
question is,
Oh, go ahead.
they do go. No. A quick question is, will you guys build Stefanski a statue if you guys or when you guys make a postseason?
No
Because
way. No way. Not yet. Although, I mean, I can only imagine what this town is going to be like once they actually officially clinch to get into the postseason. Because I will say this. I fielded a phone call at halftime of the Ravens game Monday night. I don't know if you got a chance to watch it. They were down 28-14, I believe, at the half. And this person was like, "This game's over. This is why the Browns are the Browns. They're getting humiliated right now, and they're being embarrassed by the Ravens." And of course, they almost came back to win that game. But that's the mindset of this fan base: is what are they going to do to blow it, as opposed to what are they going to do to come back and win. And that's the difference in mindsets between a winning football team and a losing football team in terms of the fan base. And I'm sure you've seen that in New York now over the last couple of years. But yeah, let's get to the game real quick. So we got some categories to choose from. I'm gonna have you pick a couple of categories to start. The one on the bottom left is first grade English if you can't read it. So what are you thinking?
all right, let's start off with third grade English.
Third grade English. All right.
A third grade question, huh? Well, let's see what it is.
Not making any promises.
Which of the following words is a proper noun? Dog, park, truck, Ashley.
Ashley.
Yes, Ashley. I shouldn't say it so
You must have
positively
learned
because if we get it
something in school
wrong,
because that's the right answer.
but that is the right answer. All right, so let's go back to talking about the game. If we lose a question, if we miss a question, we drop the game
Let's pick
completely.
a
So
subject.
real quick. Michael says different mindset this year. Different mindset from the team, from the players, I believe, but I don't know if it's different from the fan base. But looking at the Giants right now, you guys are what, one game out behind Washington for first place with a 5-8 record.
And
Somehow,
they do own the tiebreaker
and
because they beat them twice.
what is the talk around town heading into this game for you guys? What's the expectation?
I think it's fool's gold right now because they're playing with house money. Everyone's excited that the Giants, dare I say it, have a chance to be in the playoffs with a below 500 record. But for the most part, you want to make sure that every move and game that's being played now is going to set you up for success in the future. So the first person we want to look at is Joe Judge. He's a first-year head coach. Everybody was laughing at him when the season began. I had some reservations when you're tying tennis balls to people's hands to make sure that they're not blocking or holding someone. He had coaches as well as players running laps, going back to Pee Wee if you made a mistake. Coaches, yes, I did not make a mistake. But for the most part, I think people have bought into his philosophy. It's an old school, grinded out mentality. And I think that anyone from the Bill Belichick coaching tree, we have seen a lot of people not be themselves. They always say be you on a job interview. And we've seen numerous, more than a handful of coaches get let go because they try to be like Belichick. One of the latest examples, Matt Patricia, who was in Detroit, had the pencil. He did his whole thing and spiel, and that was let go real quick because of Jim Caldwell, who had a much better year, and that was his predecessor. But for the most part, Joe Judge has shown that he probably is the right guy for moving forward. We're not sure about Daniel Jones right now. It obviously would be amazing if Saquon was healthy because this offense needs some type of spark. The defense is legit. And I think moving forward, once again, you're going to try to see if the players right now are going to be part of this turning the corner and making sure that this franchise is formidable once again.
Yeah, speaking of Bill Belichick was once the coach of the Cleveland Browns back in 1994. That was ironically enough the last time they went to the postseason. But I do
Nick
want to ask,
Saban was on that staff too, right?
what's that?
Nick Saban was on that staff too.
I believe so. I believe so. Can you imagine that? That is unbelievable. But you mentioned Saquon Barkley, and I wanted to ask about that. Obviously, last year the Giants kind of rushed him back from an injury. I shouldn't say rushed him back, but he came back quicker than expected from an injury, and that may or may not have resulted in the injury this year. So, are we seeing the Giants take a different approach in getting him back onto the football field this year because of what happened last year?
I think they're going to slow it down. You don't want to rush back any type of player. And he's probably going to reach out once again to Adrian Peterson. I know Odell reached out to him this year, as many other players, because Adrian sort of set the timeline for being a superhero when coming back from an ACL injury. Saquon has had a lot of wear and tear on his body. You want to take some time, especially with all the banging up that he's going to do. He's also going to be trying to enter a contract year, getting a similar deal to what Christian McCaffrey got. But for the most part, they just want to take his time and not rush him back. You ease it as slow as possible.
Yeah, that was my fear for a guy like Nick Chubb here. Obviously, had injury issues when he was with Georgia in college, and then having the injury earlier this year. He came back within the 4 week time period when it was 4 to 6 weeks, and it hasn't seemed to hinder his performance. But that's one of the things that this Browns team is going to be able to do, or hope to do on Sunday night, is obviously push this rushing attack between Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt, and now Baker has shown a little bit more consistency behind or under center. So it looks like this three-headed monster in terms of the offense, but in terms of how the Giants typically handle the run, how will they be able to contain Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt, or will that be a struggle for them?
I think it's definitely going to be a struggle for them, and that has nothing to do with the Giants' players and capability. They have Dexter Lawrence inside. Leonard Williams was written as a cast-off, came over from the Jets, has excelled well. He's the reigning, I believe, defensive player of the week. And overall, this Giants defense is stout, but Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt are two dynamic players. I've seen so far from what Cleveland likes to do is really get them involved in unique ways, out of the backfield, screen action, sweep passes, swing passes, anything that they can do. The word probably isn't stopping those two. It's trying to contain them.
Mhm.
I think they'll be okay if they limit Chubb to maybe 85 rushing yard day. I'm not sure how well Kareem Hunt's going to be utilized a lot in the passing game, but the Giants definitely do have the playmakers to stop them, but it's going to be really tough. Those two, especially being like an earth, wind, and fire, them being two different sides of the coin, it's really hard to stop them. No one's been able to do that all year long.
Yeah, kind of giving the Giants a taste of their own medicine in terms of their history. You look back at the at some of the running back duos the Giants have had, a number of them over the last couple of years. But let's get back to another question. I'm gonna select one this time. We did third grade English last time. Let's do first grade social studies.
Well, I guess we'll see if you're smarter than a first grader.
All right, where was where was the Statue of Liberty made? And neither of us should get this wrong, correct?
Oh, is Cleveland up there?
All right, do we both agree on France?
Yes,
All right, cool. That was easy
You
for
got that
for two
one
New
right.
Yorkers.
absolutely.
we got
A
we
lot of
got
people definitely would have picked New York. People aren't aware that it was sent
Classmates
over
can only
there
help you two questions at a
to New York
time,
as a
so
gift
pick
or whatever
another
you want to call it.
classmate.
yep. So, all right.
Pick another subject.
All right. Let's see. Not defensively, sorry. Offensively, Colt McCoy. It's funny because he was here in Cleveland for a little while, so Browns fans already have their opinion on him. But he hasn't played that bad in the games that he's played with the Giants. What have you seen uh, with him so far this year?
No, he hasn't. I know that people get a bad rap when being labeled a game manager, but for what was put out in front of him, he managed the game well and led them to victory against the Seattle Seahawks. If he can do that against Seattle, I think he'd be able to do that against Cleveland. It just depends on what side or what Cleveland team is going to show up. Is it going to be the week 1 team, which seems like so long ago when they got blown out against not Pittsburgh, against Baltimore, or is it going to be the Cleveland team that we just saw had a duel and put up 42 points? Colt McCoy is clearly capable. I remember when that week started and Joe Judge was asked, is the same playbook going to be available to Colt McCoy? Will they have any reservations or limitations? And he said, no, Colt is clearly capable of winning the game. We have the same amount of confidence that we have in him as we would Daniel Jones, because Colt prepares like he's going to be playing, just as they say with every other backup in the league. But I think Colt's capable of definitely winning this game.
What's kind of the sense around the team? Obviously 5-8 with a chance to still make the playoffs because of the division, but you guys have won 4 out of the last 5. You're on a 4-game winning streak until you drop the last game. So to see that turn around late in the year, that's got to give this team confidence.
Yeah, they're loving it. They've always believed in themselves. They obviously were just a little bit later to the party, fashionably late. But in this case, because they live in the NFC East, they're probably, quote unquote, right on time. And overall, they're not paying too much attention to the standings. Anytime reporters, myself, you try to bait them into saying like, hey, how important is this win? You want to use this as a barometer for the division, yada, yada. They'll say like, nope, we're trying to go 1-0 this week. So you won't hear that out of the players. You won't hear that out of Joe Judge. They're glad to have an opportunity to still be playing for the postseason, despite what their record indicates. But you will not hear any player looking too far ahead, just saying like, hey, I'm just so happy we're still here. I thought we were eliminated weeks ago.
Yeah, you're never going to get that out of a player. And it's funny hearing that. Obviously, I've been in different markets, but fans feel like each team is unique. But guess what? Kevin Stefanski here every week. We're just trying to go 1-0. We're just trying to go 1-0. That's every.
We've never heard that quote before. Trying to go 1-0. We just got to focus on who's ahead. We're focused on the Giants. We're focused on the Browns.
Yep.
On to Cleveland.
It's like, yep, Belichick. We're on Cincinnati. All right, let's hop in, grab another one here. I'm gonna go 3rd grade measurement.
For $5,000.
For $5,000, by the way.
Okay.
How many cups are in a pint?
Woo. Can I call a friend?
We cannot. I mean, I am your friend. I think it's 8. I would have said 8.
I think it's got to. Yeah. I'm leaning between 6 and 8, but I think it's got to be 8.
All right, we're gonna go 8. Let's see if we're smarter than the 5th grader.
If that's how long it takes you to come up with the wrong answer, I don't think we
got that one wrong.
To get any of them right.
Well,
let's see if your classmate can.
Classmate gets the guess though.
You can always count
she
on
says
a
2,
grader to come through
and she gets it right. Way off.
I wasn't even close.
Oh, Michael after says 2 cups. If we have a little bit of a delay, so he's probably right.
Thanks, Michael. Where were you when I called you?
I know. All right, so let's wrap this up here. Going into Sunday night, just what did the Giants have to do to come away with a victory, in your opinion? And what do you think the Browns need to do to come away with a victory?
For the Giants, it has to be stop the run / time of possession, especially knowing that you're not going to probably have Daniel Jones in the game, but the run game is your bread and butter. I think they can live with losing to Baker Mayfield, but the time of possession, if you're just going to allow the Browns to eat up a chunk of the clock, giving it to Kareem as well as Chubb, that is not going to be the formula for success. In terms of the Browns, I think on the split end, it's just going to be to dominate, to impose their will from the opening seconds. I mentioned before that the Giants being the 2nd lowest scoring team in the NFL, if the Browns can score on the opening drive, I'm not going to say they've won the game, but there have been only so many games this year that the Giants have scored in the 21-point range. The Browns are definitely capable of doing that. We just showed that this week on Monday night against the Ravens, but imposing your will early on, and then that they'll be able to win.
So do you have a score prediction for me then?
A score prediction. Let me play Miss Cleo. Call me now. I got the Browns winning by the score of, let's say, 27-14.
27-14. So The Browns have scored 35 points or more at least 5 times this year. So I'm going to say they're at least going to throw up a 35 spot. We'll go, because of the defense, I'm going to go 38-21 Browns on this one. 38-21. And by the way, while you were giving me your prediction, I had a duh moment with the cups. A pint of ice cream, you're definitely not putting 8 cups of water in a pint.
Oh,
It's
wow.
definitely 2
Yeah,
cups.
that'd make total sense, just throwing a pint and throwing it in the cup. Yeah, see? Precisely. Hey, all I'm going to say is that I ended the day 1 for 2. In baseball, if I'm hitting 500, that is a Hall of Fame career.
That is a Hall of Fame career. Real quick, Michael on Facebook says Browns win 42-14. That is his prediction. So should be interesting. But we're gonna wrap this up. I appreciate you doing this for me. This was a good conversation. You stay on, but we're gonna end the stream. Next week, hopefully, guys, on Facebook, we'll have a preview between the Browns and the Jets. But until then, I will see you guys later.